Welcome to Mayhem CEDH, where questionable decks meet questionable pilots. For this week, we have a quick game where the phrase Blaze of Glory is used to describe one of the players. Try and guess who. With that being said, let's check out the pod today. First, we have Jack on Kess Turbo Naz, which seeks to resolve ad nauseum and win with a combo finish. Noah on Malcolm Bruse Pirates of America, a Jeskai mid-range combo deck that seeks to accrue value with its commanders in order to assemble a win con through Glinhorn Buccaneer or Underworld Breach. Kaelin on Existential Crisis, a Graveyard Storm deck that uses its commander as a setup and payoff. And finally, Evan on Keurig Black Hole Sun, a mono-black storm deck that uses its life with Crick's ability to win with a combo. And now, with each pilot in their respective corner of the screen, let us begin. But Evan has a pre-game action and puts Gemstone Caverns into play, exiling You Are Already Dead. Kaelin draws and plays an Ancient Tomb for turn. He taps it to play an Arcane Signet. Kaelin passes. Evan draws and plays an Ancient Tomb of his own. He casts Wishclaw Talisman. It resolves, and with the floating mana from Ancient Tomb, he activates Wishclaw Talisman. Evan searches for a card, puts it into his hand, and shuffles. Wishclaw Talisman is given to Noah, and Evan passes. Jack draws and plays a Polluted Delta. He cracks it, paying a life and fetching up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. He casts Lotus Petal. He casts a Mana Vault. He cracks his Lotus Petal to cast Imperial Seal. Jack searches his library for a card, puts it on top of his library, and loses 2 life. Jack passes. Noah draws and starts things off by paying 2 life to cast Gataxian Probe. He looks at Evan's hand and draws. He plays a Scalding Tarn. He cracks it, paying a life, and fetching up a Volcanic Island onto the battlefield. He casts a Mana Vault of his own. He taps Mana Vault to activate Wishclaw Talisman, searching up a card into his hand. Wishclaw Talisman is given to Kaelin. Noah casts a Mox Diamond, discarding a land as it enters. He casts a turn 1 Dranith Magistrate. Evan reevaluates his game plan, and Noah passes. Kaelin draws and plays a Windswept Heath for turn. He taps Ancient Tomb to activate Wishclaw Talisman, searching up a card into his hand. Wishclaw Talisman is given to Evan. Kaelin passes. Evan draws and plays a Cabal Pit for turn. He casts a Soul Ring. He follows it up with a Blood Celebrant. Evan passes. Jack draws and plays a Wooded Foothills for turn. He cracks it, paying a life. In response, Kaelin cracks his Windswept Heath, paying a life, and fetching up a Sacred Foundry onto the battlefield tapped. Jack fetches up a Badlands onto the battlefield. Jack casts Ad Nauseum. It resolves, and Jack reveals an Underworld Breach, Arcane Signet, Flooded Strand, Otawara Soaring City, Arid Mesa, Dark Ritual, Reign of Filth, Ponder, Wishclaw Talisman, Gamble, Talisman of Creativity, Mana Confluence, Brain Freeze, Alchemist Retrieval, Morphic Pool, Windfall, Force of Negation, Malevolent Hermit, Wheel of Misfortune, Verdant Catacombs, Mystical Tutor, City of Brass, Burgi God of Storytelling, and is goaded by Noah into one more, which is a Spell Pierce. With no follow-up, Jack moves to discard and passes. Noah draws and takes a damage from Mana Vault. He casts a Talisman of Creativity. He moves to combat and attacks Jack for 1. Jack takes it, and Noah passes. Kaelin draws and plays a Marsh Flats for turn. He cracks it, paying a life and fetching up a Badlands onto the battlefield. He casts Praetor's Grasp, targeting Evan. Grasp resolves, and Kaelin searches for a card in Evan's deck and exiles it face down. Kaelin passes. At the beginning of Evan's upkeep, Evan casts Vampiric Tutor. He fetches up a card onto the top of his deck and loses 2 life. He draws and casts Slaughter Pact, targeting Dranith Magistrate. After much deliberation between Noah and Jack, Jack responds by casting Force of Negation, exiling Windfall. Slaughter Pact is countered, and Evan follows it up with a Reanimate, targeting Jack's Dothy Voidwalker. It resolves, and Dothy Voidwalker enters the battlefield under Evan's control, and Evan loses 2 life. He moves to combat and attacks Jack for 1. Jack takes it, and Evan passes. At the beginning of Jack's upkeep, he casts Alchemist Retrieval, bouncing Mana Vault to his hand. Jack draws and plays a Morphic Pool for turn. He casts Dark Ritual, adding 3 black. He recasts Mana Vault. He casts Underworld Breach. Jack follows it up with a Demonic Tutor. In response, Noah casts Lightning Bolt, targeting Jack. Lightning Bolt resolves, and Jack dies. Dothy Voidwalker leaves play, phases are passed through, and the turn moves to Noah. Noah draws and plays a Mana Confluence for turn. He casts Wheel of Fortune. It resolves, and everyone discards their hand and draws 7 cards. Noah plays an Esper Sentinel. He moves to combat and attacks Kaelin for 1. Kaelin takes it, and Noah passes. Kalen draws and plays a Scrubland for turn. He casts a Serra Ascendant. He follows it up by dashing Ragavan Nimble Pilferer. He moves to combat and attacks Evan for 2. Evan takes it and exiles the top card of his library, which is a command beacon, and Ragavan creates a treasure token. In his second main phase, Kalen casts Lion's Eye Diamond, paying for Noah's Sentinel. He casts Faithless Looting, drawing 2 and discarding 2. Kalen passes. Evan draws and plays a Swamp for turn. He casts Bolas' Citadel, paying for Noah's Sentinel. It resolves, and Evan follows it up with a Doomsday off the top of his library, paying 3 life. As Evan begins to resolve Doomsday, Jack reminds the table that Noah's Dranith Magistrate is still on the battlefield. The table backs up to before Doomsday had been cast. Magic is hard, guys. Kicking themselves, Evan passes. Noah draws and takes a damage from Mana Vault. He plays a Flooded Strand for turn. He casts his commander, Malcolm, Keen-Eyed Navigator. He cracks Flooded Strand, paying a life and fetching up a Tundra onto the battlefield. Noah passes. Kalen draws and plays a Dragon's Rage Channeler. He follows it up with a Demonic Tutor, paying for Noah's Sentinel. Channeler triggers, and in response, Noah casts Muddle the Mixture, countering Demonic Tutor. Then Channeler's trigger resolves. Kalen moves to combat and attacks Noah for 6. Noah takes it, and in his second main phase, Kalen recasts Ragavan Nimble Pilferer. Kalen passes. Evan draws and casts Everflowing Chalice, kicked twice, not paying for Noah's Sentinel. He plays an Emergence Zone. He follows it up with a Chainer Dementia Master. Evan passes. At the beginning of his upkeep, Noah casts Enlightened Tutor. He fetches up an Underworld Breach onto the top of his deck. He draws and plays a Command Tower for turn. He moves to combat and attacks Kalen with Malcolm. Kalen takes it, and Malcolm creates a treasure token. In his second main phase, Noah casts Underworld Breach. It resolves, and Noah recasts Enlightened Tutor. He fetches up a Lion's Eye Diamond onto the top of his library. He recasts Wheel of Fortune. It resolves, and everyone discards their hands and draws 7. He casts Lion's Eye Diamond. He casts a Mana Crypt. He cracks Lion's Eye Diamond to help recast Wheel of Fortune. He recasts Lion's Eye Diamond. In response, Kalen flashes in Cathar Commando. In response, Noah pays a life to cast Force of Will, exiling Ponder. Cathar Commando is countered, and Lion's Eye Diamond resolves. With Brain Freeze in hand, Noah presents a loop of using Brain Freeze, combined with Lion's Eye Diamond and Underworld Breach, to generate mana and mill himself out. With Interaction and Thassa's Oracle in the graveyard, the table sees the writing on the wall, and Noah wins the game. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to catch future videos, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.